It's Emil Guillermo. Hey, back from Easter weekend. You know that Easter is like an 8-day thing. It's an Easter comes in octaves. It does. So there's like 8 days of Easter. I don't know why we don't have an 8-day of Easter song. Maybe there is. I don't know. But I heard, because I was watching the Vatican broadcast yesterday. So I did go to church. And they said, oh, well, Easter is an octave. So we have 8 days of Easter. I guess that's how long it takes for the chocolate bunny to melt. I don't know. We've got an octave. And then, of course, there are 50 days. I bet you didn't know that. 50 days of Easter. So if you're still saying Happy Easter to folks, you still can do that. You still can do that. And so we have the egg roll on Monday today. And believe me, a wet Easter Monday egg roll is the least of Asian Americans' worries. And I'll get to that today here on Emil Amok's Takeout. My takes on all things considerable. This is the Asian American Micro Talk Show because we talk about things that Asian Americans should care about. And there are some considerable things coming off the weekend. Welcome again to my gong closet. We're here. Oh, who's that? Who's that? Is that the IRS calling? Just as a reminder, they want me to remind you that, in fact, taxes are due today. Traditionally, 415, the 15th, but they bumped it up to the 18th, so you got a weekend. Oh, what nice teachers they are. Like the nicest teacher you had, right? Oh, yeah, take the weekend. Finish off your taxes. Anyway, yeah, a little reminder. The tax bunny will get you. Beware. Dot your I's and cross your T's. So anyway, it was a fairly good weekend for me. I did my show on Saturday. The National Storytelling Network at storynet.org. I think you can still get it if you want to see a video of it. If you go to storynet.org, it was a good show. It was, Filipino American history run amok from my perspective. And you see, I even outfitted my gong. It dawned on me that the gong was not wearing the proper attire, so we got the barong Tagalog out. So now my sidekick is well dressed for anything, for formal wear. But it was a good show. If you came, thank you very much. It was a Zoom show, so I kind of take a look, but then I don't as I do the show. I have to say, I was wiped out afterwards. It was, even though it's a Zoom show, you're still going through the emotions, you're still doing it. You're standing up, you're concentrating. It makes no difference whether it's a Zoom or not. You are present and you are aware, and always fun to do my shows. I've been doing a version of Amok since 2017. 2017. The earliest versions in 2015, 2016. Then I took it on the road on 2017. I may yet take it again somewhere. I'm going to be on the East Coast sometime in June. If you're interested in me coming by and doing the show live, and I say this not knowing exactly what our COVID situation is going to be, but email me at Emil, EMIL, at AMOK.com and let me know. But it's a Filipino American history run amok, and I'm on the East Coast in June. So let me know. Other than that, there may be another Zoom possibility in May during AAPI month. And who knows, if things calm down and we're seeing each other, I may do the show live in the Bay Area, someplace close here in California. But today, I don't know if it's a setback or a liberation, but we should talk about masks and talk about what happened today with the judge in Florida who said that the mask mandate that the CDC wanted for the airports, that's now reversed. After the CDC said, okay, we're going to continue using the mask mandate for a couple of weeks at least. Now we don't even have that. So I really don't know. We also have a situation where we still have 500 or more deaths a day. 500. I mean, just check the death. Now, people say, well, Emil, you can't tell by deaths. Well, I don't know. I think deaths are a pretty good indication because if we have 500 people dying each day for the last week or so, that's like 3.5, 737, 700s crashing. And if that happened, that would be as big a news as what's happening in Ukraine right now. And yet we all want to get back. Okay, so we'll get into that. The main story I want to get across today, though, is the news that broke it broke on Friday about Dianne Feinstein, the senator of California. Go to my ALDEF blog, my column on the Asian American Legal Defense and Education Fund. That's at ALDEF, AALDEF.org/blog. And you'll see what I have to say about it. I mean, I've got some real things to say. And I'm surprised that people out there who may have seen the column, either through Twitter or Facebook, I'm surprised at the number of people who say, well, Emil, ageism, we can deal with it. I mean, they didn't say it in those words necessarily, but that's what they mean. Racism, bad. Sexism, bad. Ageism? Let me see, Emil. How old are you? I know how old I am. I think ageism in the right context could be good. That's what I'm hearing from people. It's scary. It's scary. We're Asian Americans, if you haven't noticed, right? Of course, I call this the micro talk show of the AAPI and the AAXs. But of course, if you're not Asian American, well, then you're definitely free to hang in there and listen, because we're talking about American things. We're talking about things that pertain to all of us. Ageism, sexism, race, it all pertains to us. So, let's get into this. That's the question. Racism bad, sexism is bad. We all agree in that, right? We got our pronouns out. We know who we're for, who we're against. We're for a woman's right to choose, etc. We're for all the good things, right? No? The majority of us are. We're anti-racism, anti-sexism. But it's funny. I'm hearing people say ageism is okay. It's distressing as I move up in years. But this comes up when you see the case of Dianne Feinstein, the senator from California. She's been in office since the 90s. She's up for re-election in 2024. She has preliminarily taken out some papers to explore running again. And I guess some people out there are a little too impatient and they would rather she not run. But instead of talking to Senator Dianne Feinstein like rational human beings, they leaked some news to the press. Well, it isn't even news. It's a rumor. They leaked it to the press, specifically to the San Francisco Chronicle, the hometown newspaper of Feinstein. And apparently they had the good sense to not bring it up to anyone until after Feinstein's husband died recently. Apparently, someone went to the Chronicle and said, hey, something's up with Feinstein. We don't know. But here, here's the information. Feinstein has gone through a kind of hell the last few months. Her husband dying of cancer. He ultimately died in February. Last week, the Chronicle breaks the story that some people are worried that the senator is unfit for public office. Talking about, anecdotally, about memory lapses. Now, you say, well, Emil, come on. I mean, if she can't do her job, if she has a memory lapse. Look, I lost my keys yesterday. I found them again, but I lost them. I left out a couple of things out of the show I did on Saturday. Made it a better show. I mean, memory lapses happen. But the Chronicle was relying on anecdotal information from a person who said they had talked to Feinstein recently. She was not her sharp self. They were distressed about it. They cast aspersions about her ability to lead, to be senator of the biggest state, the most populous Asian American state in the Union. And the Chronicle sat on that story. Meanwhile, it got some other sources. People say, oh, yeah, something's wrong with Feinstein. Everyone wanted to be anonymous. And the Chronicle granted the anonymity. Ordinarily, I'd say in a journalistic realm, that would be fine if it was an important enough story. You might say, well, governing the largest state in the union, that's, or being the senator, the representative for the largest state in the union, that's important, right, Emil? Well, yes, but we're dealing just with anecdotal evidence, no medical evidence, nothing real, just a person who had a conversation with Feinstein and was concerned about her mental acuity. Is that enough to cause a kind of sensationalistic brouhaha here over whether or not Dianne Feinstein is mentally fit for office? I mean, in some ways, you might say, God, Emil, it's like borderline slanderous. Oh, no, come on, Emil. She's a public figure, right? Okay, she's a public figure. But you are saying something about her that may or may not be true, that may or may not benefit the person who is giving you the information and who might be in line to be the next senator of California in the U.S. Senate. What kind of axes to grind do they have? In this case, if I were the editor of the Chronicle, I know the former editors of the Chronicle. What would they have done? I don't think I would have published it. I think I would have dug deeper to get people on the record. I think I would have dug deeper to make sure before I alarmed not just the nation, because the Senate is a national body, but the state of California. I'd make sure that this was more than just a rumor, more than just gossip, and that there was something medical, something that I could say, look, I saw the record, I reported it, this happened. I'm concerned. They didn't do that. They got some people on the record, but not for attribution. Actually, even they provided a cloak, a deeper, broader cloak for all the people who they talked to. They gave them full anonymity. For what? To smear Feinstein as an old woman who has maybe some memory issues. I mean, that's what got me. This is a raging case of ageism. Now, you know me, I've won some awards for, writing about social justice and about race and about minorities and immigrants in California and the nation. Yeah, we can agree Racism, bad. Sexism, bad. Are you telling me you have a greater tolerance for ageism? Because ageism, no doubt about it, is bad. And this is an example of the kind of nasty politics that is now out there in California. Unidentified sources declaring that the state's most senior senator, Dianne Feinstein, is mentally unfit. It's, frankly, this is hitting below the belt. Here's the paper not only protected the source, and source says, the main source and all the other sources who kind of semi-corroborated the rumor, the paper said, okay, we're going to editorialize about it. They might as well get their money's worth, right? So they report it as news, the rumor is news, and then they say if Feinstein is mentally fit or mentally unfit, Democrats need to tell her openly and she should resign. Well, frankly, the if is bothersome because the conditional if is intended to make everything seem, well, look, we're being fair. If she's unfit, then she should resign. But if she's not mentally unfit, then what, Chronicle? This is just a journalistic enterprise publishing the unsubstantiated or the rumors of these anonymous protected sources. I mean, the Republic is not at stake here. I mean, I could see reasons why you would go to an anonymous source. But basically, this is going to an anonymous source because you want a story. And you got your story. It's gone nationwide. People are talking about it. They're talking about it because now you have a senator, an aging senator, who has decided, yes, she probably would like to run again. She's taken out preliminary papers for the 2024 run. But she's not the only one in their 80s doing this. Chuck Grassley in Iowa, he says he's going to do it. We've had in the past older senators say, yeah, we're going to hang in there as long as we can. I mean, the paper, the Chronicle, cited 4 U.S. senators, 3 Democrats and 1 Republican, which should make you think, oh, this must be a Democrat, the one who said that she witnessed the, quote, rapidly deteriorating memory of Feinstein was a Democrat. The public needs to know if that Democrat is considering a run for the Senate if a seat is vacant. That would be important. But the Chronicle's protecting that source and all the other sources because they're concerned that, you know, they're concerned that Feinstein won't be able to fulfill her duties. Quote, without her staff doing much of the work required. Well, look, I got news for you. That's how a lot of the work gets done in Congress. I worked there one Congress. I know a lot of staffers do a lot of the work. The senators, the congressmen, they're figureheads. They're important leaders. They don't do all the work, but they do the work necessary. They're out there giving speeches. They're out there making the votes. They're doing the job. And Feinstein wouldn't give an interview to the Chronicle, but she said as much. Look, I'm bringing back all the appropriations for the state to fight fires. I'm doing my job as well as anyone. And as Feinstein says, quote, I'll put my record up against anyone's. She's right. I mean, the fact that this thing comes at a time when Feinstein is suffering because her husband died recently of cancer. I mean, this is kind of a bullying technique. I didn't like when I heard about it. I said, well, who could this be? I hope it's not someone who wants the vacant seat in the Senate. Because if it is, that person should be exposed as forcing out Feinstein before she is ready to declare, that's it, I'm retiring, I'm leaving. There are some people out there who say, Emil, we don't owe anything to these politicians. I know maybe you're a politician, maybe you're a congressperson, you're a senator, but in California, Dianne Feinstein she's been legendary. A legendary representative from her time as supervisor in San Francisco to her time as mayor. She was elected in the 90s. She has served since then, Judiciary Committee, Rules Committee. And this is how the Senate works. The older you get, the more seniority you have, the more power your state has. Just look at the Ketanji Brown Jackson hearings. Feinstein did not have as active a role, but she was there. She gave her speech. She asked some questions of Judge Jackson. She had a larger role in the past, in previous times. But she was there. She was she didn't do anything embarrassing. She voted the right way. And I just think that she is high up there in the committee. That is a position of power. Meanwhile, you look at the replacement for Barbara Boxer, who gave up her role, Alex Padilla, no slouch, but I would take Feinstein with whatever memory lapses she has and all her experience over a rookie senator who's just trying to learn the ropes. Feinstein's been in the Senate for 30 years. That's power for all Californians and for 6 million Asian Americans in California. That's the significance there. You push her out, California's power is diminished. It makes a big deal that Dianne Feinstein is allowed to leave on her own volition, if that's the way she sees it. Unfortunately, we don't have any proof except anecdotal gossip, rumors. Oh, we talked to Senator Feinstein. It was small talk. It wasn't the conversation with an intellectual giant that it used to be, say, years ago. It's just like she was forgetful. Yeah? Is she able to do her job? I think she should be the one to determine that, or her family. Or if it's serious enough, the party talks to her and considers what the options are. This is just a kind of backhanded slap at a career public servant, frankly, who deserves better. Dianne Feinstein deserves better. And I say this as a San Francisco native, as someone who was born and raised there in the city. I happened to share a stage with her a couple of times, speaking at my alma mater, Lowell High. Not hers. She went to the Convent of the Sacred Heart. But I remember, we're not friends. There's still arm's distance. I'm just saying that I just respect her for what she's done. I'm willing to be objective. And if there is an issue with her mental acuity, yeah, she should step down. But that should be her decision, her family's decision, her doctor's decision. It shouldn't be the decision of a story anonymously sourced in the Chronicle that creates a kind of buzz over ageism in the Senate. Like I said, Chuck Grassley, Iowa. There have been others in the past who've been in their 80s. Strom Thurmond, South Carolina. People have done it because they have the staff, they have the name, and to a certain degree, they want the power. They want the power. But I don't see any instance of a power grab here on the part of Feinstein. The power grab is on the part of the anonymous sources. Look, you could do the story chronicle. Just name the source. Name the person who is willing to talk about what they observed. Let that person stand up. Here's what the Chronicle wrote and why they didn't name the source. They said the sources expressed concerns, said what they were doing was painful because of their respect for the senator and her groundbreaking career. Respect? They got respect? So you're going to out the senator in this way? That's a form of respect? Back to the quote. Each spoke on condition of anonymity because they said they did not want to jeopardize the relationship with her and their mutual friends and colleagues. Well, I got news for you folks. You did. You jeopardized that relationship. If you were friendly, and you were friendly not just to the senator, but also to the constituents of California, you would have done the fair thing. You would have brought this up with California party leaders. You would have had people talk. You would have had people talk about the next step for the Democratic Party in California. And you would have tried to have, for lack of a better term, an intervention between family and party, state leaders. And that would have been the best thing for the state. Instead, all you anonymous sources and the San Francisco Chronicle engaged in unabashed sexism. Sexism because, oh, look, Grassley, he's in his 80s. He's running again. Oh, but not Feinstein? Sexism. And on top of that, unabashed ageism. Kind of deplorable for the paper that wants to be the flagship of, San Francisco. Granted, newspapers aren't what they used to be. They're trying to prop up the Chronicle as best they can. And everyone is just covering their little bit. The Chronicle isn't as comprehensive as it used to be, although the population of the Bay Area is shifting to San Jose and the East Bay and Contra Costa. And the only people who read the San Francisco Chronicle tend to be people who remember Herb Cain. Oh, Herb Cain. I mean, you mean old people. You mean people who may have voted for Dianne Feinstein. Well, I just think that a more responsible journalistic move, if the operating idea, the operating principle of journalism is first do no harm, then what should have been done is a nice consultation. Unless, as I said, one of those anonymous sources who are legislators currently have their eyes on Senator Feinstein's seat. And then, these people wouldn't be seen as so altruistic after all, right? Impatient Democrats or Republicans wanting Feinstein's job, not ashamed at pushing her out at this very minute, resorting to ageism. They're probably young. And by young, I really mean to stretch that term liberally. I mean people in their 40s. Unfortunately, this has become pretty standard practice. When I was in Hawaii, working for the Honolulu Advertiser on the editorial board, Ed Case wanted to push out Senator Daniel Akaka. 2006. Almost did it. Didn't though. Akaka survived. Case went back to the House. Still there now. Because, he's on his gravy train. It's not the Senate, but he was gunning for Akaka. Didn't get him. Then Representative Mike Honda, 2016. He served from 2001 to 2016, succeeding Norman Y. Mineta in Congress. Representative Mike Honda, great guy. You grew up in the internment camps. I like Mike, and I was saddened to see him pushed out by the young Asian American Ro Khanna. Honda should have had the opportunity after 17 years in the House to leave on his own terms. But at least no one made the charge that Honda was not of sound mind. And this is the way you get rid of people that you don't like. You have an election. And you have people vote. And you have people vote for whomever. That's not what's happening here with Feinstein, but maybe this is the opening stab. And maybe what we'll see in the coming months, you'll see someone come out and say, well, I was the anonymous source, and I'm running against Feinstein, and I want her out. Like that's some kind of claim to fame. If I were one of those sources who beg for anonymity, I would be ashamed. But those people now are too blind with ambition to admit that what they did was shameful. But what they did is shameful. Like I said, Feinstein, I knew her in the 70s. Went to Lowell High School. She came and gave a speech to our entire school. That's when I first got to meet her. She became mayor of the city. U.S. Senate since 1992. She deserves the right to decide when to step down. She's owed that, at least. If she can do the job and deliver for the people of California like she has shown just in this present term, then her seniority is a benefit. As both a leader and an elder, Dianne Feinstein embodies a value Asian Americans both understand and respect. Ageism is not a good look in a democracy. So, all you young social justice warriors, before you push her off, think about that. Think about the good people, the quote-unquote good people who came forward and hid behind anonymity because they did not want to jeopardize their relationship with the sender and their mutual friends and colleagues. Hey, there's a name for that. That's called backstabbers. Backstabbers. Really, that's what you call it. They're stabbing you in the front. They're stabbing you in the back. That's the way it is now in California politics. I think as our country ages, we got to be concerned about this. We got to be concerned about ageism. And to see it happen to someone like Feinstein, man, I'm just amazed. I would have expected better from people who know what Dianne Feinstein has done for Californians and know what she's done for America. So I wanted to be that I wanted to be that supportive of Dianne Feinstein in this today, because I don't know, but I'm saying I'm open. If something is wrong with her ability to do her job, I mean, really wrong. We need something more than, oh, I talked to her and she forgot who the Giants were. You know, look, I've known her since I was 17. I would not be concerned if I go up to her and say, hey, hi, Emil. I used to cover you. I remember I gave a speech. If she didn't know who I was, I'd forgive her. Look at what she's doing for the state. Is she bringing back appropriations? Is she doing stuff for the good of the state? It's Asian Americans. I don't think there's any reason to believe she's not, except someone who wants her seat wants to reveal to the world that this woman has lost it. She hasn't. They got it. You need more proof than that. I'm sorry. Whoever you are, Democrat or Republican, although it looks like it's a Democrat, which makes it really, really dirty. So tomorrow I'm going to talk about, well, if there's that big conditional if, because at some point Feinstein is going to have to step down. Maybe. I mean, if Grassley keeps going on, if Strom Thurmond keeps going on, why do you non-sexists want to push out Feinstein? She should stay as long as she's able. So the question is, at some point, we would have to consider someone would take her place. Who might that be? In some of the things I've been reading, no one mentions an Asian American. Isn't that funny? No one mentions, oh, well, maybe an Asian American should be in that role as Senator of the United States. Why? I mean, they mention, well, we have Padilla, who is Latino, Hispanic. Someone has said Newsom probably would appoint a black woman. I guess is that the Ketanji Brown Jackson magic happening? A black woman in California, even though in California, after whites, then come Latinx, Hispanics, and third, in terms of total population, Asian American. Why hasn't anyone said, oh, I think there should be an Asian American there? John Chung. What happened to John Chung? He was running for governor not long ago. Rob Bonta is now the Attorney General. So I guess that takes him out of the picture, I guess. Although people bounce around musical chairs as politicians in California. Just curious why no one is mentioned. House of Representatives Ted Lieu or other Californians in the legislature. San Francisco City Attorney David Chu, formerly with the legislature, now is City Attorney of San Francisco. I just think that whoever gets to a point, well, it's probably going to be Gavin Newsom. And it gets interesting here. Now we're getting into the real nitty-gritty, and maybe now we see why the Chronicle had to sit on that source and provide anonymity. Because if we saw truly who's out there to get Feinstein or to move her out, it may be even more shocking than we think. I hope not. But the way it sounds, it could be someone from the north and not the south of this. I mean, I could see someone from the South saying, "Oh yeah, maybe Feinstein from up north should go. Maybe it's time for her to leave." And maybe, I could share this little anecdote about our conversation. I don't know anyone who is a Democrat up here in the North who might do that kind of backstabbing against Feinstein. Because NorCal folks tend to generally stick together, one would think. But after decades of Feinstein and Boxer, now they got Padilla down there from the South. The question is, who's power grabbing whom? Fascinating. But in the end, the revelation worth taking away is, when is ageism all right by you? Shouldn't be at all. I mean, the only reason for Feinstein to step down is if, in fact, she is unable to do the job. Anecdotal evidence isn't enough. She has to be unable to do the job. If not, you're forcing out an older woman. You're sexist, you're ageist, you're being a bully politically, and it's just unseemly in a democracy. Hey, I'm told that amok.com has the ability to put on the live stream. So you can get this live stream on Twitter, at Emil Amok on Twitter, Emil Amok, EMILAMOK. You can get it on Facebook, on facebook.com/Emil Guillermo Media, Emil Guillermo.media. Watch it on Facebook Live, Facebook Watch. You can get this on it's YouTube. It's there. I mean, it's there. You can check out my YouTube channel. All the videos are there. You can watch it live and you can chat. You can do all that. And now, as I'm told, I'm watching it. You can see it on amok.com. You can hold it up. Here's the ideal way to see our show. You take your phone and you just punch up amok.com. You go to where it says, "Oh, here's the live stream." Or you can go to all the recorded shows and just catch it. You punch it up, you listen to it like a radio or a podcast, and it's live streamed. It's a podcast, and there it is. I talk about the news of the day and give you a perspective on Asian American things that you probably will not hear anywhere else. I don't think you will. Are there people speaking with any kind of, anyone who really wants to defend Dianne Feinstein? I know. I have a soft spot in my heart for her, and I think, considering what she has done for the public, look, she's not a socialist. She's a flat out capitalist, but she's a strong San Francisco moderate. And I do think after 60 years in public life, she's owed the courtesy of being able to decide for herself when it's time to step down. I just feel strongly about that. I mean, it'd be one thing if she was in there for 5 years or like a short timer, like any of the short timers. A short timer would be someone who's in there for 10 years, 15 years. There are people in the Congress who they run every 2 years, but you don't know them. They just win automatically. I mean, I'm sure they do something that is, makes them accountable to their district, but they lie low, don't say much. It's a kind of gravy train. That's why I was kind of surprised when, just look at the California legislature, or not the California delegation, and look at all the people and what they've done. Jerry McNerney is, once he learned how to play the game, he just never kind of hid. but now he's going. You got guys who've been there for a long time, and it's a transitory thing. You try to do some good, but even like Republicans like Pombo, man, he was. I just think that there's a lot of ways to play the Congress. I like the fighters. I like the people who are out there doing stuff for people. And Feinstein is more than just a lifer. She, as a former mayor, she represents something to Democrats from Northern California and from San Francisco. I just think she deserves better. All right. I want to talk just briefly about some other things. This mask mandate is upsetting me. And I know that one of the other things we talk about this show is, I title it WDAAAT. What does an Asian American think? It's because they never ask us. They never ask us what we think when it comes to masks. I look around and I people cite polls. Here's a poll. There was an Axios Ipsos survey. It said around 2/3 report going out to eat, 65%, or visiting friends, 66% this past week. 9% would describe the state of the coronavirus as a, quote, serious crisis now. Nearly twice as many, 17%, say it's not a problem at all. The vast majority, 73%, believe it's a problem, but a manageable one. Sort of like that squeaky door, that you don't bother putting oil on. Just, it squeaks. Oh, it's loud. It's an annoyance. Only 15% say state and local governments, and 22% of employees are enforcing mask requirements. And then I say, this is a poll. Now, if they ask me, I'd say, hey, look, I know a lot of you went out because I saw your Facebook. I saw you on Twitter. You're going out. You're visiting people. I didn't. We stayed home. We called, Zoomed, that, we did that kind of thing. Walked the dog, waved at the neighbors, but we stayed. We don't need to hasten our departures. I know 9% out there would describe the state of coronavirus in the U.S. as a serious crisis right now. Only 9. I would say it's not serious, but it's up there. When you have 500 people dying a day, I mean, check Emil, it's not just, it's hospitalizations. It's not the death. Deaths are important. Like I said, this is my favorite stat because people always look at the 500 deaths. There was 500 just yesterday. They look at the 500 and they say, come on, that's nothing. Well, it was something to the orphans and the widows and the widowers of those 500 people who died. 500 dead. All last week, at least 500 each day. As I like to say, that's 3.5 737-700s. 3.5 Southwest Airlines flights going down. And you know what's happening? Everyone's going on planes now. We're just about 90% at the 2019 levels, except the airlines haven't hired people at the level they need to get to that 2019 level. And the pilots are all complaining, saying, we are tired, we are fatigued, as the airlines are trying to grab back lost profits. And that's what it's all about, really, huh? It's about all the businesses trying to say, we're done with this mask stuff. You're on your own when it comes to public health. It shouldn't be that way. It shouldn't be where we're on our own. I'm concerned about this. I'm very concerned about this. And I know that at some point soon I'm going to take a plane. In the next couple of weeks, I'm taking a plane somewhere. I don't know what kind of spike we're going to see from where we are now to what we could have. I mean, everyone's getting BA2. and subvariants of BA2. It is, the CDC has made its recommendation, but now let's see, what's the latest story is that there was a judge in Florida who struck down the mask mandate on planes and public transit, saying that, this is after the CDC extended it. Now a judge in Florida, where of course you'd expect that to happen. I don't like it. But it looks like it was Judge Catherine Kimball Mizell, of course, a Trump appointee. She wrote a 59-page decision that said that the CDC had exceeded its legal authority under the Public Health Services Act of 1944. What does Judge Mizell know? I'm telling you, we're going to have another spike. I can just feel this is like the American virus diet. We're just going to yo-yo, 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 good, bad, good, bad, good, bad, and don't get stuck. Heaven forbid you get stuck. I'm going to be a good Asian. I'm going to wear my mask because you know what? Even though you don't care about me, I care about you. And I will let my cooties out there. If I have a little sniffle, I test often now, but I am not going to risk infecting you. I am going to be more considerate of you than you are of me, because I'm not going to wear, or I'm going to wear a mask. You may not wear a mask, but I am going to wear a mask. And that just may be the natural thing that we're all just going, if you're responsible, you can tell the responsible people because they're wearing masks, and the irresponsible people are buck face naked. Here we are, breathing that air. How many people do you know have got, I know of at least 3-4 people who've had COVID within the last couple weeks. Because, hey, caution to the wind. And the wind went right into their bloodstreams. I think Biden is trying to be, he knows that people are tired. And he doesn't know how to be strong on this public health stance. And a lot of people, even Republicans who want to side with him and who are never Trumpers, even they are saying, look, enough's enough. This is manageable. Let's go on. Sure. But like I said, we still don't know everything we need to know about long COVID. We still don't know everything we need to about this virus. This is probably going to be more dangerous than at any time during the pandemic, because half of us are just going headstrong into it, and the other half are masked up and trying to be cautious. It just doesn't sound good to me. Oh, Emil, what's that? Oh, that's my talk show transition. Don't leave home without it. All right, so we talked about masks. I talked about my show, National Storytelling Network. Great show on Saturday. If you missed it, I'll tell you, email me at Emil, E-M-I-L, at amok.com, and I'll try to figure out if there's still a way that you can gain access to the tape. Because if you bought a ticket before and weren't able to attend because, it was Good Saturday, then there's still a way that you could, they'll send you the link and you can watch it. But there may still be a way, if you didn't buy a ticket, send me an email and we'll see if we can figure it out. Or we'll see if I could do the show another time, maybe coming up for Asian American Pacific Islander Native Hawaiian Heritage Month. Yeah, I'd be up for it. Definitely be up for it. We talked about would you rather be racist, sexist, or ageist? Or maybe, look, all three we don't need. We just don't need all three. And the Feinstein story is an example. We don't need that. Oh, how's that racist, Emil? Because Feinstein's Jewish. No, it's racist because Feinstein is the Senate leader for 6 million Asian Americans in California, the largest Asian American population in the state. You take a leader from us who's been good to Asian Americans, like Dianne Feinstein in San Francisco. That's racist. I want to talk about Indianapolis, but I'll bring that up tomorrow. It's just sad because 415 was the day of the big shooting in Indianapolis that claimed the life of the sick. There were 8 victims, 4 of whom were Sikh Americans. One of whom, Jaswinder Singh, 68, was from California. I met him back in 2003. Had this distinct handlebar mustache, and it just recently moved to Indianapolis, gunned down. I wanted to mention it again because wouldn't you know we'd have more gun violence over the weekend? I mean, it's unrelenting. I'll talk about it tomorrow. I mean, it's just too sad. Too sad. We got more Sunni Lee stuff we'll talk about. We'll get to that tomorrow too. Because if you're a regular listener or viewer of this show, you know I like to get into my loving self-kindness meditation at the end of the show. In fact, you should tell your friends. Oh, he'll talk all that stuff about the news and, oh, it's tax day. Oh, do your taxes. Just a reminder, do your taxes. Or get an extension, but do your taxes. But, at the end of his show, or as he's just about to end, he does this loving self-kindness thing because it shows that we count. Asian Americans count. Asian Americans matter. And if you're walking around thinking, oh, I don't matter, no one cares about me. We care. You're important. But this is kind of like our national psyche. And it's good to see people like Sunni Lee win gold medals at the Olympics and then go to the NCAAs and win championships for her Auburn NCAA gymnastics team. It's good to see these kind of higher achievers, even just successful, happy, low achievers. It's just important that you see people who set the example that, yes, you are worthy. You matter. Don't you forget it. And if you ever feel that pang, that need, look, take this hand here and put it here. Take this hand here, put it. Just give yourself a squeeze. I know during COVID we've outlawed hugs, but it's okay. The self-hug is okay. The self-hug works. Just pause. Count to 10. Breathe deeply. And know that you're loved. Know that you count. Know that you're worthy. And so, as I wish for me, I wish for you. May you be safe. May you be happy. May you be healthy. And may you live with ease. Emil Guillermo here. Till tomorrow. Read my column now, aldef.org/blog. Till then, mahal